Yo.
Happy Monday, everybody.
It's a weird Monday.
Nap for this.
Super odd. I don't trust it. I don't believe it. I'm again it.
You're a what it?
I'm again it.
You're again it?
I ain't for it. I'm again it.
Oh my God, the Whole Foods bag, the bike hanging from the wall. You are a caricature of myself. Is that a towel dry, like an earth-friendly towel drying rack too, or something?
No,
Maybe.
well, no, that's closed.
That's a pachinko machine.
But that is definitely several $100s worth of modcloth.com shopping, which is its own hipster cliche. And then,
If you look over
you
here-
have the hanging bike. That's a telescope.
Is that a Jennifer Murphy bed?
That
In the
is
back-
not the high quality nor racism of a Jennifer Murphy bed, but it is indeed the Murphy bed. And then, of course, we've got our gigantic bird structure for 3 tiny cockatiels.
Bird Palace.
Man, your dashiki showing.
Hey, listen, man. I like to live comfortably. This is how I live my life.
If you squint really hard, you can see umami, the 5th flavor.
I like
Exactly.
to chop birds down. Chop them down to Chinatown.
All right, guys. I think I'm good over here.
All right, I'm ready when you're ready to be ready.
So, Andrew.
Hold on, let me get my microphone in my face.
I'll tell you what, it is remarkable how good this eyesight camera is.
Dude,
Yeah.
it looks great.
Like it with decent lighting, like it's kind of shocking that it's like a webcam.
It's really weird. The sun is shining where you are, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, my color balance is great on mine.
It is 5
Like-
o'clock only over there. So.
Like 1996.
Yeah.
dithering.
No,
Or
and out
six.
here we get like great diffuse light because of the cloud cover.
And your nice, gentle complexion too.
I mean, listen, I was born with it, Holmes.
I'm my Scandinavian blue here.
Dude, you're looking vampiric as always, Andrew. Blah.
Put my false color lamp here.
Oh, did you light a
Oh,
torch?
and I gotta go draw red blood vessels.
All right.
All right, I'm ready when you're ready to be ready.
Take us away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the Weird Things Podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young,
Hey, folks, it's me. What's going on?
Brian Brushwood.
I'm here. I've always been here. I was never away. You guys didn't do a show while I was gone, did you?
We may have had an amazing
What?
show.
What? Well, because I got all these tweets saying what a great episode it was, and I was confused because I was like, but I wasn't on it. How could it have been great?
It was
You know,
such
Brian-
a good show that Andrew's already made a spin-off.
Oh, man.
You know, Brian, sometimes scarcity is the source of inspiration and creativity and stuff.
You went out and you wrote. Yeah, all right. What did I miss?
Well, Bryce had his own little journey and what I'm tentatively calling the Journey Quest.
Got it.
And we found out, Bryce, when you ask questions of like, how could this happen? How could people stand for this and allow horrible atrocities to happen? It's people like Bryce that
Yeah,
Oh, dear.
Bryce repeatedly was just following orders.
Oh, no. Real life Nuremberg.
Yeah.
yeah, Bryce is a monster. That really should have been the name of the show.
Let's just say that now the character on Journey Quest that represents Bryce has a recurring ghost in his head because he made a promise that was then broken and brought a man to his timely demise.
Among others.
Oh, dear.
Yes, among others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, he's a monster.
Yeah, Bryce is a
Done.
monster.
Let me just note that in my journal, and we're ready to start.
First off, gentlemen, just a quick update. Something exciting happening in front of SpaceX today.
Wait, today? Because that was the thing. Like last week, I missed our opportunity to give our 6th hell yeah for the 6th recovered second ship on a boat.
Brian, let me ask you something. What would you do if you made an incredible achievement like that? If you all of a sudden, I don't know, you sent something to space and it came back again intact?
So many illegal drugs? Question mark. Ain't no laws in space.
We're not ruling that out, but up front, SpaceX, they've got a new display.
Oh my God! They're giving their giant middle finger to the rest of the world. They're fully erect.
Well, Brian, that's one way to put it. Or perhaps they're proudly displaying a rocket. So now they have erected the returned Falcon 9 rocket stage. It is now on display in front of the SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, which they had to get permission because there's an airport right by there.
So wait,
you can actually see a live rocket in front of there if you drive by, and it's tall. It's big.
Is this the first one or the most recent one?
I believe it's the first one.
Wow. Yeah, no, because I know that I believe he had tweeted out that he was planning to reuse the other ones, but that the first one would be forever his most precious of tokens.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, is this just going to be there forever, or is this like just here for the fall carnival?
Well, I mean, in some science fiction scenario, where we need one more rocket.
Oh, dude, yeah, no. When somebody decides to pirate his way to space, he's like, "Oh, wait, I know one rocket that's not being used."
I like the idea of somebody going up front to the information desk, like, "Yeah, I love how you have the smoke coming off the side, like the liquid oxygen's being poured into the fuel tank." That's I'm like, what? They run outside comedically, and all of a sudden, flames erupt. And...
No, I guess I mean like just in terms of understanding how durable the just putting a rocket up is, like, is that so, like, it's just rad? You can
I mean at this point,
whatever, right?
I mean, it's like the Wright brothers kind of knew that having the first flying airplane, it didn't need to go back into service. They knew that its place was in the Smithsonian or some equivalent from then on. I assume that's what they're thinking here, is like, this is the first ever first stage recovered.
Yeah, they're fast accumulating rocket first stages. So I think they're like, yeah, put this one on the front lawn, whatever, sure.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the thing is like, I mean, and it really doesn't, like, it's not like Hawthorne is going to be subjected to punishing sleet or anything, right? But just in terms of weather erosion or whatever, like in my mind I thought that that rockets would be something that you would not just want to leave outside
out to the elements. You're saying you would want to protect it so it looked pretty from now on.
Well, I mean, because
you wouldn't put the first airplane outside where the hail would damage it and stuff.
Yeah.
Got it.
You wouldn't take like a bunch of historic rockets and, let's say, put them all in one place, let's say a garden, as if you will, where you could go look at them and walk amongst them.
Well, hold on, are you talking about in Huntsville, Alabama, where Space Camp is?
Well, I was talking more like Florida, the Rocket Garden at Kennedy Space Center.
Got it. Yep. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, they may have some in Huntsville too. So they have, that's really cool there, is they have the quote, the Rocket Garden, where you have a bunch of historic rockets assembled there. And it's neat to see them side by side, and you're like, wow.
So I guess to answer your question, Justin, turns out rockets are tough. They go to space. Who knew?
Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, I have no doubt that I guess that is just like a cognitive thing, though, in my head is like, they are obviously, they need to be very, very well protected, and they are very precious because things need to be precise when they are going up, right? And we've seen, very, very small imperfections cause gigantic failure. But once they come back down, yeah, whatever, put a piñata on it, have a good time. Like, it's just a tough ass, piece of machinery.
Right on.
That's my alarm telling me to wake up and go do the show.
Hey, real quick, let's take bets on when. Like, man, I wish Mitsula was listening or watching right now, because I would love to get his estimate on the over/under on when is the first reused first stage by Netflix, by SpaceX.
I mean, has he made? Yeah, June.
Wait, June?
He said in June they are looking to launch the first reflight of one of its Falcon 9 rockets in September or October.
Wait,
oh, okay.
As soon as a month from now?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So then, if I were doing my armchair Vegas bookie, I would say
September or October.
no. I mean, I would set it knowing that everything needs to be perfect. I would say Halloween, over or under.
Ooh, I'll take the over on that because that's a big enough deal that I'm going to assume they want it to be just right. And there's a lot of weather things that could go wrong.
We'll see. I think that Musk will give you the estimate of when, hey, if things work out right, this will be when we'll do it. And like many things, it's hard to know the things that will not work out right. What are the unpredictable factors? And he gets, criticized for that, perhaps because he doesn't qualify that as much as many people would like. But we'll see. But yeah, the goal is to do this shortly. Of course, we were hoping to see the Falcon Heavy launch a year ago or more, and that's got pushed into next year. And so, but the big thing coming up is next month is their whole Mars architecture announcement, which is going to be basically a month from, Friday. They're supposed to be announcing their whole plan, or the big starting point, the blueprints for how they want to go to Mars, the vehicles, everything.
It's huge.
Cool.
Like, that's so huge, it's hard for me to even wrap my mind around. Like, I just need to, that's one I can't even speculate upon. I just need to watch it like watching The Martian or something.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of these things when a credible person steps on stage and says, this is how we're going to get to Mars, and this is the thing that we're doing right now, and not this, hey, someday, wouldn't it be great if we do this? It's mind-blowing. We're in the future. We're officially in the future at that point. Meanwhile, gentlemen, you ready for an update we talked about previously?
Sure.
Yes.
Proxima Centauri. Rumors of an Earth-like planet orbiting Proxima Centauri.
How close is Proxima Centauri? Is it proximate to us?
4.2 light years away, Brian.
Holy cow. So we're talking about in our lifetime, like one of my children could get on a craft, and let's say it did, I don't know, 0.2 the speed of light. That's what, like a 40-year journey?
At 0.2 the speed of light, that'd probably be like a 4,000-year journey or something.
Wait, hold on. If it's 4 light years away and it got up to 0.2...
Oh, like 20%.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, it'd be like, yes, that is correct.
So we're looking at the possibility of somebody traveling. I mean, obviously, we got a lot of catching up to do, but like that's something I can wrap my mind around. We've had a lot of these space arc scenarios, but like that's not a space arc thing.
Yeah, so our best shot would be probably something like Project Starshot. Of course, that's really good at accelerating things to the speed of light, or accelerating things to like 20% the speed of light in theory. The problem is the deceleration part of that, which I don't know if we can, if we have some ideas for really complex sort of, orbital catch that's near a star and spin around or whatever. I mean, at 20% the speed of light's ridiculously fast. Point is we could, in theory, using something like Project Starshot, send some probes there, things like that, and get data. We could start building more sophisticated telescopes, aim there, etc. That we have something so close could be very, very cool. So the update is the rumor was that there might be some sort of forthcoming announcement from a research group about that they may have discovered an Earth-like exoplanet there. And we don't have any set announcement yet. We're still waiting. So,
all right, over under Halloween.
For the announcement or for us being there?
For the announcement.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to take the over on everything.
It would certainly be. NASA has announced that they're looking maybe in the late 20s to have private enterprise or somebody else go take over the International Space Station. There was a report that came out where they pointed out that, our SLS and our Orion missions are going to be really, really kind of expensive and et cetera. And I think that NASA's in this sort of problem where they only know how to do really, really big things. They can do really probe stuff. We do great. But as far as building transport systems, in the sort of the way that we do it, the government contracting way to do it, and sort of the NASA sort of jobs program mentality is prohibitively expensive and making it problematic. I would love, love, love for there to be some sort of serious consideration of let's leave liquid fuel, let's leave rockets and stuff to these billionaire crazy people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, and jump right into things like laser propulsion and stuff like that. Because we could build, for what we paid for International Space Station, we can theoretically build a laser propulsion system that could send probes to stars, to every planet in our solar system within hours or days. We could get stuff there. And so imagine if we're able to build payload packages like that, it really opens up the solar system and even nearby star systems within the same time periods of which we've been sending, waiting for things like Pioneer and Voyager to go further out and send us data.
Well, and keep in mind that the mathematics change when you don't need to send human beings in there. That means you can have accelerations, faster than would be tolerable for humans. You don't have you're suddenly lighter because you don't have to worry about fuel for people, food and waste and all that stuff. But then on top of that, if you have an artificially intelligent robot, you just need to slingshot this thing out there, and then it could take all the pictures. Like, it doesn't even need to stop in the star system. It could do just a super fast flyby and get us insane amounts of data. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, our next big Mars rover, the one from NASA, the Mars 2020 rover, is going to have autonomous functionality to it. So instead of somebody sitting there on a joystick telling it what to do and waiting, 30, 40 minutes, whatever,
yeah.
It'll be, be like, all right, I'm going to go look at this rock, guys. Like, all right, go look at that rock. Tell us what you think.
The best metaphor, and it was on a cheesy show. It was either on National Geographic or Discovery. There was two shows kind of that came out within minutes of each other because that's the way TV works. But it was about like what might an alien planet on a distant star system look like. And the best metaphor I heard was somebody said that watching a probe send in data from a star, let's say 4 light years away, Proxima Centauri or whatever, would be equivalent to watching your young child at a spelling bee, in that you've put in months and years of training and effort and tried to think everything in advance, but ultimately you are utterly powerless when it's faced with the actual decision of trying to follow what is the most scientifically interesting possibility at any given time.
Then it sends back messages. It's cold here. Why did you send me here, Daddy?
It's like, Daddy, Daddy, Daddy.
Why
So
have you
I have
forsaken me?
real quick, unrelated aside to that. I had my nieces visiting this weekend, with my brother and my sister-in-law, and I took them for ride my car off to Santa Monica, and my little niece, Isabella, gets in the back seat in the car. Her sister are both buckled in there, and she finds, shockingly, there's a monkey puppet in the back seat of my car, right? and she finds the monkey puppet. Next thing you know, she's got the monkey puppet on her hand. She finds it can make a squeak noise, and she's making it go squeak, squeak. And then I hear squeak, squeak, and she's playing to the monkey puppet and doing a little high-pitched voice. And then about 2 minutes in the drive, she's quiet. Then all of a sudden, she just says, "Squeak, squeak, Uncle Andy ate all the chocolate chip cookies." And I look in the rearview mirror and I see this little kid with this puppet making accusations. And she just goes, "Squeak, squeak, Uncle Andy ate all the chocolate cake." And it was the creepiest thing in the world. She's adorable. She looks like Boo from, Monsters, Inc.
Sure.
And she's so there's like a little 6-year-old girl doing an even higher pitched voice and having a monkey make these accusations at you, about you eating things and stuff. And then I'm like, I was joking that, like, yeah, that's a horror movie. I'm going to hear squeak, squeak, somebody's upstairs. Squeak, squeak, the woman in the mirror talked back to me.
Oh, jeez.
So I just wanted to share that little scary thing. Children say the scariest things.
Dude, like, did you get that, Brian? You get like super creepy stuff out of the girls?
Yeah, I think I used to notice it way more early on, and especially with other kids. I think that's the kind of thing that you notice in other kids more than your own, because once you have your own random noise generators, you notice that they generate a lot of random noise, and you stop caring and stop ascribing meaning to most of it.
Stop listening to them.
Yeah,
just take
stop
away their
acknowledging.
food, quiet them
Yeah,
down.
whatever.
You have a whole battery of possible punishments.
Exactly.
Many protected by law.
Speaking of avoiding punishment, it'd be punishing.
What's that?
Well, I think it'd be punishing to the world at large if we missed a show of weird things. And that's something that thankfully doesn't happen because of the patrons over there at patreon.com/weirdthing.
Oh, heck yes. We are only, $36 away from breaking the $500 per episode mark. It sure would be great if we all got a C note for working on this thing. Wait, hold on. We do. It would be great if we got more. We would love you guys to head on over to Weird Things.
Brian's bad at math.
Patreon.com/Weird Things. You guys can make sure that you definitely get a Weird Things episode every single week. All you got to do is join the Weirdo Brigade and kick in some cash if you enjoy the weird.
Let me bring something up. How long after the Night Attack Patreon did we do the Weird Things Patreon?
It was a good 4 or 5 months.
Okay. But note the difference between, we look not unlike we look now in the Weird Things Patreon video, right?
Hold on. Are we gonna drag out the Night Attack thing again?
I'm just saying, what the hell happened? I mean, it was for the better with that 4 months.
Clearly what happened is you and I gave up. I acknowledged that I was over 40, and you acknowledged that you love beards.
But just for reference, for visual viewers, let's go to the Night Attack.
Oh, I knew you were going to do this. I knew you were going to do this.
I'm just saying, we look horrible in the Night Attack.
No, we look fine. We just look like
terrible in the night.
We're both pretending to be in our 20s, and then the other one, we're not.
Let's just. Oh my God!
Oh. We don't look bad. All right. You're fired. Get out of here, all of you.
Anyway, there's a better video on Weird Things. Patreon.com/Weird Things. Support the show. I apparently grew a full beard in 3 weeks between the two Patreons.
I let my hair get longer.
Yeah, we get it. You're immortal. You never age. You're exactly the same forever. Man.
I see the difference in just oh, yeah, Andrew was at Ghirardelli several times this week. Once. I'm only there once.
Did you just squeak yourself and then get defensive about it?
I had other things too.
Squeak. Andrew was at Ghirardelli.
I just had this vision, this post-apocalyptic sort of future, like in the Star Trek where kids run everything, and that's just going to be the courts. Oh, yeah. Squeak, you're over 30. Squeak, time to go away. I'm just saying, I scare myself. But anyhow, moving right along, gentlemen, I want to get to something I'm really, really wanted to talk about here. Yeah. There was some sort of large-scale sporting event that took place over the last week or so.
Yep,
yeah, I think it's called
Championship of Snooker.
Yeah, the awesomer, stronger, smarter, faster competition of the world.
Right. We are, of course, talking about the Olympics.
And
that too. How much of it did you watch, Brian?
I'm surprised at how much I've absorbed sort of just by osmosis. It's I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 hours worth, but I unfortunately, I'm following the scandals more than the actual competitions themselves.
Mm-hmm. Justin?
I think I watched 20 minutes of a random basketball game, but I was at a bar, and that was it, man. I watched none of it this year.
I watched nothing watched nothing, and like I kind of, to be honest with you, like in my mind, I mean, this is one. There's an article which we'll probably do another time when actually I've read some of the supporting research on it. I'm still kind of like, wait, didn't we just have the Beijing Olympics?
Oh, dude.
Oh my God.
That's a fact. Like as we grow up, I'm going to be generous in my terminology here. As we grow up, just the time warp begins, man. After you turn 20, just time hits.
And can I tell you what's even funnier as I say this? Is I was thinking the Beijing Olympics was the last Olympics.
No, that was 2.
Yeah.
That was 8 years ago. London was between that.
Oh crap!
London
I
had
forgot
winter.
all about London.
Yeah. No, I remember I was at Tom Merritt's place when he still lived in San Rafael watching the London closing ceremonies. Because I think we had done FSL, so it was at the beginning of FSL. But yeah, no, like that, man, time flies.
Hey, can I take us on a random side jag? I'm sure you have something super important, Andrew. But I asked a question on Twitter that got some people fired up, like super passionate. I asked,
am I a has-been in Austin?
oh,
Please
okay. Well, first of
read
all,
this
as we
Reddit
all
thread.
know, I finally made it to the D list. If you go to reddit.com/r/Austin, the question
You weren't
is,
even high up there. I had to scroll down like
it's
90.
fine. Look, I
up.
made the list. I made it all the way to D list. That's fine. I'm honored and humbled to be on this list. But more importantly, how long? The question I asked on Twitter was how long until an esport makes it to the Olympics? And of course, you got the initial wave of like, hopefully never. As we all know, esports are inside people mouth breather, fake sports or whatever. But then people started, really thinking about it. They're like, dude, the shooting events in the Olympics don't even use bullets now. They use lasers. And how far off is that from being, a VR esport? And, in a world where we have sports, where a sport is, to hit a ball with a club and golf or to ride a horse around in a circle or whatever. I don't know. It seems like, given the fact that esports is rapidly on a trajectory to be $1 billion a year advertising, mainstream primetime sport, how long will it be until we see an esport in the Olympics?
I mean, it's a great question. I think the answer is never.
Why is that?
I think because there are many, many $billion sports and entertainment things that just are never going to find their way into the Olympics. I think that, cricket isn't an Olympic sport, and cricket
Baseball.
is one of the most watched things in the world. Not here, but in the rest of the world. I mean, it's incredibly huge. I think that, you might listen. When the Koreans hold the Olympics again, maybe they'll try to pro something. I think part of it's because games change so much. So what would you classify as like an esport?
That's a good question. I'm going to say anything with a electronic or computer generated component to it. However, having said that, that's a loosey-goosey title because one of the initial reactions somebody had was, "Oh, what happens if a computer freezes during the middle of an esport?" And there's literally not a single sport that doesn't have a computer.
Yeah, right. It's a dumb response from somebody.
Acting as a
Apologize to that person,
response.
That's dumb.
But keep in mind, the Olympics started off with art competitions. There was literature and poetry competitions.
Right, which were extremely subjective. And they had to get rid of things with their highly subjective scoring and stuff. And was that part of the modern Olympics? Like,
I don't know about that. That was what it sounded like in the according to the tweets I got. However, but some people were saying like, what defines a sport? Somebody was saying like there has to be a pure physical skill component to it. To which I responded, what about winning a first-person shooter is not pure physical skill? And that's objective. That's not subjective. That is in Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get in a debate of like what's physical or what's not or whatever at all, because that ends up ultimately being sort of a fruitless debate because of is baseball really a sport? If you're I'm kidding, of course it is, but I mean, anytime you can sit there and chew copious amounts of mouth tobacco, my question is, part of the problem is like, okay, sports, they evolve slowly, but they relatively are the same. Is that, an Olympic swimmer in 1908 would pretty much understand how our swimming works today. And I don't say that sarcastically because there is, Yeah, now we have these special sensors and stuff. And do you know why there's so many ties in swimming?
I would assume because the mechanics or the ability to measure what counts as hitting there is
We can remember we can measure billionths of a second if we wanted to.
right. I would think that the definition of what counts as touching, though, because it's like it's an amount of like it's got to be 2 newtons of pressure or some nonsense.
It has to do with the fact that we can measure to the billionths of a second or whatever, really, really finely tuned when somebody hits that. But the shape of the pool itself, each lane, there might be millimeters of difference in that.
Wow.
So it's not because we can't precisely measure when it's touched, it's because we can't guarantee that every lane is exactly the same length.
So
Oh, so anything within a certain window becomes a tie just to allow for the fact that the lanes are crazy.
so
Oh, that's interesting. Well, I mean, here's Brian, to your question. With esports, I think the two things would need to happen. Number one, an esport would need to become popularized that's not proprietary. That right now, Dota, League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Hearthstone, whatever it is that have gigantic esports components, they are run effectively by the publishers of those games with outside organizers putting things together but working in concert to run the tournament. I think that would be a part of it. And secondarily, they would esports would want to be in the Olympics and lobby to do it. Right now, I don't know exactly what the motivation would be, considering the organizers wouldn't necessarily want to do it because they'd be setting up another big competition that would be bigger than theirs. The players would not want to do it unless you really had a big pride of country to prove that X amount of people are the best from wherever part of the globe. And the publishers wouldn't necessarily want to do it out of hand. I mean, I guess they might have the biggest reason to want to be on a large, gigantic stage. But I think that those would be the three biggest hurdles for me.
well, I'm not discounting the existence of the hurdles. I'm not even saying it'll happen immediately. But the things I'm seeing is an inexorable trend towards respecting esports, because the reason that basketball and football and baseball are popular is because our parents' generation grew up playing those games, and it's their intimacy with those sports that allows them to watch professional players do them, and for them to project themselves into that situation, be like, that was a good catch, that was a good throw, that was a good run. And as a result becomes very popular. We're seeing that happen with esports as well, and these are the games that people are familiar with, and they're watching other people do them extremely well. So I'm assuming, again, not 10 years, not 20 years. In my mind, we're looking at 50 or 100 years. It's inevitable that we're going to move towards primetime sporting entertainment being some variety of esport. Now, maybe it's something where people got VR goggles on and they're jumping and doing flips. There could be an athletic component to it, but it's obvious that those are the games that we like the most. So to me, it's not a question of if, but when. And much like you did, Justin, everyone's like, well, I just see this problem. And that is a problem for the next 20 minutes,
but
not for the
I
next
think-
200 years.
But I think the conquering of those problems shapes when it happens and what it looks like, right?
Well, again, the question, my interest is not in in what it looks like. My question is when it happens. To me, it's an assumed ending that at some point the most popular sport in the world is an esport. My question is, how long after that does it become an Olympic sport?
Here's my issue with that is that what was the most popular watched esport 4 years ago? It wasn't League of Legends, it was something else. And the changeover on these things are so quick, and the Olympics is every 4 years. We have not had baseball as a permanent Olympic sport, yet it's extremely possible. In 100 years, we've had certain years, host countries said, yeah, we're going to have baseball, but it's not been there. And I would say that part of the thing, I'm not opposed that there's going to be some sort of Olympics, some other sport or something that's going to become some other way of like esports and stuff and combining other cool things, because man, I would love to see some things that like and the Olympics is a very traditional group, a very, very traditional body. Where they're going to be 100 years from now, I can't say, but I would say that part of the thing is, nobody's we're not getting 23 million viewers to watch a Pong tournament.
Well, all right. Well, I'm going to call Pong a straw man argument.
No, but Brian, my point is that if it's not, give me an example
Pong
of
man.
what esport are we watching that was popular 5 years ago? That's my point, and it's only getting, and they're getting their absolute viewerships, esports absolutely through the roof.
Yeah,
I
sure.
was skeptical that something like
Counter-Strike,
Twitch would work.
Counter-Strike
I
would
was
probably
wrong,
be
but
the answer to that. But
Yeah,
Turnover on things is
Counter-Strike is 17 years old and still seems to be going strong. But again, I don't even think that'll be the one. I guess I'm confused by the question because I don't care which sport it is. My question is, when will one become universal? And I guess am I reading you right? Is your thesis that none of them will because it turns over very quickly?
I think for the Olympic, I mean, if we had an Olympics or something else like that, it could have even a bit. I'm not against the idea that we may have some big tournament thing the whole world watches where it is people are going to watch esports and it's bigger than the Olympics. I'm not saying no to that at all. I'm saying given the way the Olympic Committee works, the way they've worked for 100 years, the way that group is and how anti they are to new things, and that is in their DNA to be very anti anything new or things like this, that I would be surprised you would have to have a fundamental change in that organization, the way they work for that to happen.
I mean, so your answer is never, like
So,
literally never. Capital N.
Andrew's not saying no, and correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew. Not saying no because of esports. He's saying no because of the Olympics.
Yes, correct.
But he is saying never is his answer.
As far as the Olympics, yeah, I'll go on the record and say we will never see an esport as a continuous Olympic event. There might be something where, if it's held in, some country that's very pro that wants to do as a, hey, we're going to do this year because we get to choose something crazy and we're big into this. And also you get into sort of the equality game too, because that gets into a thing like, okay, well, this is great if you're from a first world nation, but third world nations don't have as many people going to participate and play right now. And that will obviously change 100 years from now. It's hard. It's 100 years out. It's hard. But I'm saying if the Olympic Committee is anything like it is now, like it was 100 years ago and now, I would say never.
What about you, Justin?
I'm more on Andrew's side, if only because the Olympics, the trend, if you look at where ratings were for the Olympics and just the health of the Olympic Games in general, they've been more prone to cut events than add them. I mean, like they cut wrestling, I think 4 years ago or 8 years ago. And that's like literally the entire, predication of the Olympic Games was a wrestling tournament. So I almost, if I were forced gun to my head to bet, I would say that it is more likely to me that we see a big multi-country, gigantic tournament, esports tournament, that is more popular than the Olympics adding.
Sure. And I don't doubt that. I think you're 100% right. There'll be some competitor. There'll be an X Games or an E Games type thing.
And look at like MMA and look at that. I mean, that was sort of a thing where boxing got boring. Boxing got very, very boring and didn't want to adapt into the fact that as we had an interest in many different fighting styles and we realized like, man, it's so rigged and all this, that there was an opportunity to just really explode into some other thing. And Brian, like, let me say, like, if the question is like, hey, do you think 50 years from now, people might turn into more people going to watch an Olympics versus the Olympics? I would say, I think you might be right.
Sure. But I think actually MMA is a really good example because I think that MMA is so outselling boxing. It's so much more popular now that I think in 50 years, MMA will supplant boxing in the Olympics. I think that the money will just get too big in MMA versus boxing. And I think likewise, maybe not in my lifetime, but in the next 100 years, I think the biggest money-making sport in the planet will be an esport. And once that happens, it'll become too big for the Olympics to ignore because ultimately they got to sell tickets. They got to put butts in seats. They got to make money.
Yeah, but the hard part is the way these things are organized. And if you ever dealt with, I did judo competitively for 8 years and dealt with the, national judo associations and stuff like that. They're so vested in their own sports and stuff that because the committee is formed by the bodies that represent these other sports that are part of it. And you would, and it would be like, yeah, I think it'd be great to put MMA in the Olympics. It'd be great. But it's like, yeah, well, the Taekwondo and the karate people, they're like, I don't want it. The judo, they're like, no. We want our thing. We don't want this to threaten. So we will actively try to prevent that. So the only way you get that kind of thing in there is when a host country says, hey, we're going to champion this and we're going to submit this forward to it. I mean, that's broadly, but that's the hard part is it really is this political organization that is heavily invested in protecting what they are and not adopting to the new.
Well, also think about it like this. There are two major club leagues that work like kind of above head and shoulders, everything else. Maybe three. One or two of the soccer ones like Premier League or the Spanish one, and then the NFL. And the Olympics depends very heavily on not only television, but specifically American television. They delay medal ceremonies so NBC can air it live in America, much to the chagrin of a lot of competitors. But we haven't seen American football at the Olympics.
Although
Right.
there is a movement trying to make that happen. Okay, but separate from all that,
Yeah.
I got it. I have some Olympics related trivia for you guys. And I allow me to play Andrew Main here and see if he can solve my question. There's an Olympian named Hans Gunnar Liljenwall, Liljenwall. He was a Swedish pentathlete who's famous. He has a unique distinction in Olympic history. Do you have any guess as to why what his
He
distinction is?
competed or won?
What's that?
Did he compete? You said the pentathlon was his event?
That was his event. I'm going to decline to answer that question on the grounds that it would give you the answer that I'm fishing
Did he soil himself while competing?
Congratulations, Justin. He was the first Olympian to poop his pants during the pentathlon. No.
Did he always compete as the same gender?
He did.
Was his nickname Brian Brushwood?
No. He was born the 9th of July, 1941, and he competed in the Olympics in 1968 in the Summer Olympics in the pentathlon.
So is he did he compete again?
The Wikipedia article. It says he also participated in the 1964 and the 1972 Olympics, but it was his 1968 participation that was of note.
Did he kill somebody?
No.
Did he poop himself while killing somebody
No.
and changing his gender?
No. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Brady's wherever going to be.
Hans Gunnar Liljenwall.
Took over the Nakatomi Tower.
No. He caused the disqualification of his entire Swedish team in the pentathlon for illegal substance abuse at the Olympics. Any guess what the substance was?
Alcohol?
He had 2 beers to calm his nerves before competing and winning in the pentathlon. Ended up getting his entire team disqualified.
Damn.
Oh, I'm sorry. Bronze medals. They had to return their bronze medals.
Wow. Because he had a few drinks and shot his pistol.
2 beers to
And
calm
then
himself down.
he said, I'm going to go where people understand me, and took up residence in Texas.
Changed his name to Brian Brushwood, and he still looks great for 75.
Wow.
That's such a surprise to me because I figured, of all the performance enhancing, I'm using air quotes here, substances, I would think beer would be on the bottom of the list.
Who knows if it's still on there, but
They got some weird rules.
yeah.
And that's the thing is that, you have what happened this year is the anti-doping stuff caught up with the Russian technology.
Yup.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I read an article about Russia being banned from the Olympics. Was that this year or next time?
Number of athletes this year were banned.
Wow.
That's the problem. The problem is when the cheating comes from the systemic level. Like that's really where you get your issues.
And I know this won't be a popular opinion, but I don't like the word cheating. It's like in a world where you're measuring protein to the 10th of an ounce or whatever. There are substances that cause your muscles to do things, and I don't know. I think I'm in favor of the all drug Olympics.
I love that SNL sketch.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, we have a little quandary here.
Uh-oh.
Why?
Meanwhile, in the Journey Quest.
Yeah! Dude, this is the #1 segment in all of podcasting.
So what's happening right now is we've
Of course, if
split
you
apart.
love Journey Quest, tweet #Journey Quest right now.
Brian went off on his bicycle with your newfound companion, and we knew that some strange things were afoot because they saw signs that said salvation this way, and they may have seen people actually nailed to crosses, which, listen, it's Texas. Justice is swift and biblical. Justin was left behind in the battle van to wait it out while Brian and the companion drove on ahead on their bicycles and pedaled on through. Last week, we found out what Bryce was up to, the monster Bryce. And if you haven't listened to that one, we highly recommend you check that out, because periodically there are going to be side quests, and sometimes the group splits up, and we're only able to follow what happens to one person. Well, today we're going to find out what's happening to Justin in the van. Justin?
Yeah, finally.
What are you doing in the van right now?
I'm checking provisions. I'm doing some inventory. I'm just making sure. I'm making sure that crazy old coot that Brian made me put in the van, didn't steal nothing. The young
woman,
I'm just getting
the grieving
stuff
mother.
ready.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever. Listen, tomato.
So it's been several hours since Brian left.
Mm-hmm.
Are you concerned?
I'm just trying. I think we had a great run. Me and Brian. It was really great times. But not gonna lie, man, I'm just starting to think about heading on west.
Driving into the city. This is the ghost of
into
Brian.
the city to go get him, because that's what the signs
appeared
say,
to you.
salvation's this way.
I appeared to you ephemerally, and I'm like, what? You're gonna go to the city? You're not even gonna wait for the recon reports?
No, I'm thinking more around the city, trying to find another way around, so I can just keep heading west in general.
What if I found a bunch of valuable goods, or perhaps valuable technicians that could aid us on our journey?
Understand, Justin, in Brian's mind, he found like a bunch of little packs with hearts on them, with crosses on them, in like power-up food packs. He thinks this is the way that it works.
I don't know what we found, but I just can't believe you would bail on me.
like the likelihood. Okay, let's really lay out the math here. The likelihood that you found, exactly what we needed to get on our journey faster and more comfortably.
It's already in every single convenience store you've passed along the way, because 99.999% of the population's dead.
Yeah, 5%, mate. And I'm being generous because I believe in you. 95%, this is a death trap. You're the one who brought this on us by bringing this crazy old coot along with us. It just is.
Hold on. Bringing this lady along did not
grieving
cause
young mother.
This town to appear. I did not. The two are not connected. My ghost says to you.
We all got different ways of looking at the world, and I think that's part of what's just organically kind of happening here. I feel like your ghost is telling me you should just go by yourself.
Okay.
You should just go.
Smash cut. It's not a ghost. It's me with a walkie-talkie. I left a walkie-talkie in the vent so that I could talk to you while I was
Brian,
out on the
you guys
road.
did have walkie-talkies to communicate with. Did you set some sort of plan for when you're going to check in with each other?
Yeah, it's called I left one on in the vent so that I could pretend to be a ghost for this moment. And then I realized, I say, Justin, I'm not a ghost. It's actually me. We're on the recon.
No, Brian, you don't.
Why not?
We're not in your quest part right now. You just don't. Okay.
Okay.
Brian.
Yeah.
But how was I talking to him then?
He was hallucinating your voice.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
good enough for me. As
I
long
was
as I
acting out both parts. All right. You want to know what? Fine. I'd look at the walkie-talkie. Let me just go see what's up. Let me talk to Brian. I try to talk to Brian.
So you get on the walkie-talkie.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brian. Just checking in, man. How's that recon going? I'd never leave you.
Static.
Just want to let you know, Brian. Our partnership is what keeps me alive. Brothers forever. Over.
Static.
All right. If you're trying to tell me that I should just leave, then don't say anything.
Hey, who is on this channel?
You got any gum? Hey, my name is Brian Brushwood, and I live in Austin, Texas. I live at 400.
Brian,
you
your
know-
signal's coming in pretty close to my transmitter here.
Oh, I'm a ham radio enthusiast. Is that how this works? I forget.
Brian, this isn't a ham radio frequency.
Anyway, well, science, am I right?
Are you
World-
in trouble? Do you need help?
I don't know. Do you need help? I'm asking. Who's asking the questions here?
99.9% of the population's dead, Brian. I think you need help. I think we all need help. Why don't we help each other?
Who are you?
Help. A
Is
friend.
that your first name or your last name, doofus?
Click.
Can I hop on the CB at this appropriately timed moment?
No, Brian.
Oh, because I'm off on. Okay.
No, Brian.
I'm just gonna go. All right, I go back on the walkie-talkie. Help! I need somebody. Help!
Not just anybody.
Help! You know I need someone. Help! Listen, that was a Beatles song. But I was thinking about you. I was a real chode earlier, and I want to apologize. That was not me. Listen, in fact, I'm not even Brian Brushwood. My name is Andrew Main, and you might have seen I had a television show. It was great. So
The Carbonara effect?
Help!
I
Are
love
you
that
back?
guy.
Is help back, or did he just come on for one sassy
He
one-liner?
just came on to zing Andrew Main.
Yes. So this is help. You can call me Joe.
Joe, listen. So thank you for accepting my apology. Where are you relative to salvation?
Salvation's about 2 miles south. I'm watching you right now from the hill.
If you're watching me right now, then which of my 2 testicles did I just?
If you step outside your van, I'll tell you.
All right, I just wanted to make sure that you weren't a fellow magician. All right, so you're up in the hills. Why aren't you in salvation?
Because I just escaped from there.
Oh, wait. Okay. All right. Joe, no, I know this is going to come off as a little forward, but I just got to ask you, are you a killer of people?
Before or after the apocalypse?
I mean, like, all right, understand. Sometimes we gotta take our chances here. And listen, if we all gang up together because we're all cool and the gang, then you're gonna understand that if I had my druthers, I would have killed this one Looney Tune that Brian really made an issue about picking up. By the way, my name's not Andrew Main. My name is Justin Young. You can call me Justin Young.
Listen, I'm not really sure what to believe right now.
Hey, we all got to
But,
cover our tracks. All right, here. So, what are you just living out there? You a naturalist? You in a tent? What's going on?
I'm planning a raid on Salvation.
What do they got in there?
I think they got a cure.
Wait,
Cure.
hold on. At this point, I show up as a cartoon little conscience thing on Justin's side, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what does he mean cure? Everybody who caught it died. Everyone who's alive is immune.
Hold on, conscience. Hey, Joe, what do you mean a cure? Everybody who caught it died. Everybody who didn't have it is still alive. What cure and what?
There's a second variant. Some people are still dying.
Ask him for evidence.
What's your evidence, Joe?
Radio reports. Have you been listening to the channels?
No, what is the good radios? Joe,
You got to keep scanning.
We've been doing our own podcasts. Have you listened to our podcasts? We don't listen to radio much.
Listen, all I know is that some people have been well and then they got sick because this thing mutates fast. There's a reason it took down so many people. There's not just one version of it. There's multiple versions of it that appeared in different parts of the world.
All right.
Now, I've heard it's stockpiled there. I got away from there. Chances are your friend is probably being held captive. If you want to rescue your friend, we need to go get him.
Now, let me ask you this here, Joe. How am I supposed to believe that you're actually somebody who's out here trying to find a cure and get it out to people, not just somebody who's in Salvation trying to lure dullards like me into a trap?
Well, look out your window. And you look out your window, and what do you see?
Mm-hmm.
You see a guy standing there, right? Arms open, harmless as could be, wide open, radio in around his neck. Okay? It's maybe late 50s. And he sounds a lot like Brian, but he looks nothing like Brian.
Is this my cue to step in as Joe?
Yes, Joe.
Oh. Hey, buddy.
Wait, what?
I'm not Brian Brushwood. I just sound like him. I escaped from Salvation, and I'm here to help you. That's why I told you to call me help on the radio.
But you're 50 years old and you look like garbage. You fell apart.
It's not-
Jeez,
I'm-
what
not
a downhill.
Brian.
It's
Justin,
not. I'm not
I've
Brian
got
Brushwood. I
resources
just
here
sound
to
enough
work
like
with.
him that Brian Brushwood could play me if there was an audio
Wow,
presentation.
do you look like a terrible, fatter Brian Brushwood.
All right, you know what? I'm reconsidering helping you out at all. Maybe it's best that I just set fire to your war wagon. Also, by the way, if you're on a bicycle, I wouldn't be doing this.
Are you sure you're not? All right. Joe, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
They used to call me Tomcat back in the old days.
Okay. Joe, when did you get to Salvation? Also, I'm going to hold the gun on you. It's nothing personal. It's the apocalypse.
All right, look, if you want the help, you're going to have to put the gun down. All right? Look, I'm unarmed.
All right, hold on. While we're all men here, I hold the gun, but it's behind my back.
Okay.
I can barely shoot. It's
All right,
kind
look,
of fancy.
that's fine. Look, here's what matters is I've been scouting out this den of horrors for months, and I
Yeah.
put together this video dossier. Here, it's on an old iPod Touch. Let me just, hold on, let me open it. Let me punch in my password. There we go. Let me show it to you. Take a look at that, sir.
What do I see?
I'm relying on Andrew at this point.
So, your video dossier, what is it?
It's a collection of surveillance that kind of tells.
It's the Golden Girls
story-
on Into the Sloop, all right? It's a VHS tape.
Thank you for being a friend.
Okay, yeah. So I show it to you, and it's definitely just the intro to the Golden Girls on repeat.
All right, Joe. I mean, come on, man. Number one, I need to know a little bit more about you, and number two, if you want my help for this raid, like, what's going on, and how do you know that Brian's being held captive?
Well, I have it on very good authority. Look, I've been monitoring the people who talk over in Salvation. They use a frequency that is not the frequency you're on. And if you'd bothered to scan any other frequencies, you would have heard them talking about it. They were talking about how they found two, and I quote, dumbasses riding bicycles. And they were able to easily capture them because they got stuck in the sand when they were trying to get away. They've got them captured. They got them holed up. They say they're interrogating them, but as I listen to their conversations, it really sounds like they're just poking them with sticks, torturing them.
So you're saying that my only hope of getting Brian back is if I team up with you and we do a daring raid into Salvation to not only free Brian, but also get the cure.
No. My entire point was, if you haven't noticed, I'm a little bit older, a little bit fatter than Brian, but I sound a lot like him. If you'd like, the two of us could just keep on heading west, and you can put this all in your rearview mirror. I'm just saying.
Smash cut. Brian and Joe riding down the road. Thank you for being a friend.
Next time on Journey Quest, we'll find out if Justin's going to try to save his friend Brian, or maybe Brian doesn't need saving at all. We don't really know.
Oh, man.
Is Joe to be trusted? Does Joe have hidden motivations?
Joe Help was a very expendable character, and instead you expended Brian Brushwood.
You don't know. I have a lot of different ways.
Maybe the journey continues with Justin and Joe.
I don't like
That sound a lot like Brian, but he's so much fatter and
older
looking.
and older. Yeah,
older.
Yeah.
Ale.
It's got a more interesting backstory.
All right, gentlemen, you want to do some picks?
Yeah.
What do we got?
Hey, I got another Texas tale for you guys. I finished up Preacher. And
oh, shoot.
That show is... It is so unique in that I don't even necessarily agree with some of the decisions that they're going in, but it is so weird and unhinged, and the things that it gets right is just so up my alley that I can't help but love it. You know, like there are moments in the final episodes where characters that I thought I had a beat on how they would act went way beyond where I thought their capacity was, that fundamentally changed who they were. And in another show, I'd be like, that's weird. That's just kind of bad writing. But it almost doesn't matter, you know? It's so big and fun and silly and horror when it needs to be horror and comedy when it needs to be comedy. It's just, you know, one of my favorite things that I've seen in recent memory.
So, minor spoiler. The last episode of season 1 wraps up in a way that gets the three main characters on the road, sets up a road trip, right?
Which is the entire actual Preacher story. Like everything that happened in that first season is either taking little bits and pieces from the actual comic, but inventing basically like a prequel season where we understand who Jesse Custer is and Cassidy is and Rose, or sorry, Tulip are, before, you know, they get on the road, which is really the meat of the comic.
Yes. I got to admit, man, I adored it. I adored the ending, even though it was extreme and, you know, comic booky and just like, and let's sweep the table clean. Here's what the story is. And they sort of, you know, magicians have that saying, if you want to hide it, paint it red. They definitely painted it red when they announced, like, well, let's go looking for, spoiler alert, let's go looking for God. And then Cassidy says, wait, so like a road trip? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, what? We're going to get in fights and have adventures and do whatever? And there's like, yeah, we sure are. And as if by painting it red, they massaged over the ridiculousness of the abrupt change and made me love it.
Considering what happens for the meat of the rest of that episode, like it all kind of feels almost secondarily silly. Like I don't even want to spoil either the promise that Jesse Custer makes to his congregation or how it is resolved. But it's amazing, and it's so over the top, and it's so silly, but you have such an investment in that universe that it for me, it worked. It felt so cool.
Absolutely. Well, and that's one thing the series has been good at from the beginning, is inoculating you against what might otherwise be an overly silly pill to swallow by just prepping you for it, to where you go along for the ride.
I will just say, if there is a better moment in television this year than something that is screamed by a man holding a Tupperware container from the back of the church in that final episode of Preach, I will be delighted, because that was I could not even hold myself together. It was one of the funniest moments I've ever seen.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
Brian, you have a pick?
Yeah, man. This is the part where I'm going to regret talking to Justin, and instead I should have been doing my research and found out the names. But when you called us from the road, you were on the line with the author of the Jack of Souls series. What was his name again? Oh, snap. I just transferred. Jack of Souls.
Stephen Merlino?
Stephen Merlino. And I bought the book, and I sat on it, and I finally started reading it. Loved it. Loved it.
Oh, yeah, our guest. Gotcha. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like when you're in the moment, you're like, oh, let me just go ahead and grab the thing because I'm with the guy and he seems cool, so let me throw this in there. I was bummed to discover that I guess only one book has come out of the Unseen Moon series. But it's got a unique magic system. It's got a unique story, a unique world. It reminded me a lot of what I loved both about Name of the Wind and the Gentleman Bastard series. It seems like there's a popular archetype of a lovable rogue in a unique, different fantasy world. And I got to tell you, man, I really, really dug it. And you can get it on Audible right now. It's exquisitely performed in audiobook format. The guy does a fantastic job.
Well, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Andrew?
Right. My pick, the pick that I'm about to make, is a pick that I'm picking because
you were going third.
This is a smash cut to that Family Guy skit where Stephen King goes to his publisher and is looking around like it's about a haunted lamp. The lamp's gonna get you.
Actually, it's the book, the movie rather, Mr. Holmes, based on A Slight Trick of Mind by Mitch Cullen. This is Ian McKellen plays an aging Sherlock Holmes who's like in his 80s or 90s. And so it's this really interesting take on Sherlock Holmes where he's dealing with Alzheimer's and stuff. And he's got to deal with kind of one last case. And he's, living now in this, the south of England in his sort of summerly sort of estate with his, he's got a housekeeper and her boy. And he develops a friendship with the young boy because he's very intelligent. And he's sort of Laura Linney is in it, playing Miss Monroe, is the boy's mother. I loved it for several reasons. One, it is a fantastic Ian McKellen performance, as they all are, playing an iconic character in his own way. The storyline deals with Holmes both trying to deal with sort of a mystery in the present, a mystery in the past, and sort of trying to resolve something. So it beautifully intertwines sort of three conflicts in which he needs to resolve. And that's what the heart of story is. And the way that this does, I thought was exceptional. I thought it was just a really, really enjoyable film. So that's Mr. Holmes. It's both, I think it's on Amazon.
Oh, it's free with Amazon Prime.
Yeah. And the book, I've not read the book, but I'm tempted to. There's a ton of Sherlock Holmes literature. I even was asked to participate in a anthology of involving a very popular, very very popular IP, and rhymes with Redditor. And I had proposed, my favorite proposal among other ones was actually Sherlock Holmes versus this character, but that one was not being put forth, although that would have been cool. Anyhow, Mr. Holmes, highly recommend it.
Dude, I'm down with that. I want to watch it.
Gentlemen, it's been weird.
Just like that, you just abandoned my ass. Yeah. Strong hints that I might be captured.
Ooh. You know, if
I
Justin
just said, hey,
decides
I
to
just said we
leave-
were heading down the road. You don't know that we're not going on a daring escape.
So Joe may have his own motivations, but if Joe gives up on those and Justin and Joe hit the road, if Joe finds out the depth of his abandonment of Brian, he will never hear the end of it from Joe. Of course, Justin might be able to pry into
Weather
Joe.
that. He might be able to weather that storm.
Nah.
Hey, do we have a letter for? Oh, I like Squeak.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go with. Let me double check and see. I don't know that we've gotten a new one in the past week. Did
We may have one we didn't
Oh,
approach.
we did.
I think we may have had an extra one or two that we didn't get to.
We did get one, but it is a longer one. He does have a TLDR, but
No,
I'll send that
a
to
longer one is good. Lots to digest.
All right, so I just sent that to you, Andrew, and we'll have it.
It's not here, Bryce. It's not here, Bryce. It's not here, Bryce.
Yeah, where is it, Bryce? Come on.
to Google. Well, it's still letting me undo, so I don't think I got to give it like 10. There we go. Cannot undo it any longer. Close all this.
Still not there.
Still? What? What if you hit the refresh button?
Still not there.
No.
It's there.
There we go.
All right. You guys ready?
Ready.
Let me do this. Let me go here. Boom. Hit that. All right. Take it away, Andrew, in 3, 2.
Welcome to After Things, the show that comes after weird things. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young. Fantastic.
Hi, friends.
Brian Brushwood.
Hi, I'm Brian Brushwood. I'm here with Andrew Main. And trust us, Justin's here too.
Is Justin with
I
us?
can hear you guys. Can you not hear me?
Oh, yeah. No, it's
Hello?
just we're confused by not we can hear you when you talk. but you didn't talk and it was funny.
Are you having a Skype lag issue or okay?
Oh.
I think everything's working fine.
It's
I think
great.
It's going great. It's great. It's
Nothing to see
great.
here. Nothing to see here.
There. I'm fine. How are you?
He's butthurt. He's like, screw you guys, I'm out.
Hey, can you hear us?
Justin.
Oh, internet connection problem.
Oh,
we're trying to get the call back.
Justin makes me feel good.
Oh no! I wonder if Ashley started streaming. No, not yet.
So Brian, the Rogue One trailer.
Yeah, man, it's pretty good. I only watched it the once. I'm trying really hard not to.
Good. You're good. You're a good man, Brian.
I'm trying to not look too close because I know dude, dude, I remember you calling the cinematographer of Super 8 with your theories, and I was like, oh jeez, I don't want to become that. I can't look too close.
I know.
Okay, well, I'm gonna give Justin. Maybe he's.
Justin makes me feel good. What else is going on?
I've been playing that No Man's Sky game.
Is it good? Should I jump in?
Here's the thing. I like those sorts of games. They're like truck simulator, free to play sort of grindy games.
Oh my god, I have a friend of mine
Yeah.
who's so into Truck Simulator that he's got like custom, steering wheels and all the gears and everything, and he's got the multiple monitors, so he's able to look in the
See around him?
yeah. The whole shebang.
That is amazing.
It's kind of on that level. Like it's I think it's kind of scary how much the gameplay cycles of No Man's Sky are like free to play cycles where you are gathering resources and trading them for units and upgrading your this and that, and you kind of go around, and it's mostly that.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, they just don't like that.
Have you seen the comparison of the hype versus the reality?
Yeah, the Jurassic Park thing. Yeah. That was great. Yeah, Bradley Clark says No Man's Sky is great as long as you enjoy the game that it actually is, which is, I agree. Hey, there he is.
Justin makes me feel good.
That's weird. This new Skype, I don't know. All right, you guys want to start again?
Yeah.
Sure. I thought that was gold, but if you think we need to redo it.
All right, take it away in 3, 2.
Welcome to the After Things podcast. I'm Andrew Main, joined by Justin Robert Young
Hi.
and Brian Brushwood.
Oh, I was gonna stay silent, but I realized that would be too awkward,
And no one would get it.
and nobody would get it because it was a reference to our false start. Yeah.
The jokes are a little too inside, even for us to get. So, gentlemen, we have a email. Now, those of you that are just tuning in are perhaps very forgetful about what the premise of the show is people send us questions or comments if they want about, hey, I'm doing this thing. What's the brain trust say? Oh, the brain trust not there? Can Brian, Andrew, and Justin tell me what they think? So we will give you our thoughts on this as people who are trying to make our way, hustling as creatives. And this comes from Cameron Mesmer. Hey all, sorry if it's long. I cut everything I could. We appreciate brevity is the soul of... Anyhow, magic business question for two awesome magicians. And Andrew. What? No, I just added that part. And an awesome person. I am a 33-year-old performer in a small city, Billings, Montana, who does magic and a bit of sideshow, fire eating, etc., with as much comedy as I can fit in. Mostly kid shows because it's my bread and butter, but I definitely can and have done adult shows. I started out just doing birthday parties and traveling and doing every gig I could, but last year I opened up a private free-play arcade party room where I add on my magic shows if they want. allfunandgamesroom.com. It took off, and I've been doing the best I've ever done in any venture. It won't make me millions, but I don't need a normal job, and I work less than 10 hours a week. I want to fill out an application. My question is, where do I go from here? I mostly do shows on the weekends, so I have 4 to 5 days to do whatever I want, and it feels like I'm wasting my potential watching Netflix all day. Don't undersell yourself there. I want to do more with my performing in life in general, but now I've made a life where staying in a small area is making me money, and it feels so small. I've come up with my own tricks, routines, and variations I've thought of selling, but who knows if they're any good. I can't really focus on traveling for work or pleasure because I'm promoting myself in a specific area. Have I trapped myself from doing anything greater? Should I just shut up and enjoy long weekends? Basically, I feel like I need a side business to optimize my money-making ability, but normal side jobs would make me a fraction of what I could at my party business. The too long, didn't read it, is I'm a talented guy with a business I can support myself with and too much free time. What now? Meth.
I got a take on this, but I'd be real curious to hear Justin before I talk.
I think what he's done is identify the fact that he's got a lot of time to do stuff. I don't know. I guess every road for him going forward now is defined by whether or not he wants to leave Billings, right? Like even to go to other towns in that region to either replicate his business model or do something else along those lines. What reading between the lines in his email, he kind of, it sounds like to me, he is asking somebody to tell him to move out of his town.
I disagree. I think that may, for all I know, be the mindset that he's in. But I think the mistake, the trap that he's falling into, is the belief that I think many of us want to believe that we have a narrative that makes sense to our lives. And that if we have certain assets, when you play a video game and you pick up an item, that item is, comes into play in the next 20 or 30 minutes or so on. We want to think that about our lives, but that's not necessarily the case. And I think, yes, if you want to believe that having a successful novelty brick and mortar business matters and has to factor into your plans for whatever's next, then yes, that is very complicated and that will limit you to sticking into Billings, Montana, and it will limit you to doing what you do now. I think that that's not something you need to decide is the case. I think that you could decide when you list your assets, yes, the existence of a business that's running itself kind of on autopilot, that is an extremely valuable thing that'll keep your lights on, and that frees you up to go out and become a beginner in some other aspect. To me, the real assets are you have experience in talking to people and to commanding attention and keeping things afloat. It happens to be in the form of a sideshow, stage show that you do from time to time, but it doesn't need to stay that way. If you could think about expanding your talents to any place, like for example, the ability to command the attention of an audience is universal. Whether that's for sales presentations, for leadership seminars, for motivational talks, for college gigs, there's a billion different things that can turn into, and you can decide to begin that journey that is vaguely, tangentially related to the life that brought you this successful brick and mortar business. I guess that's what I'm saying. If you have the courage to decide to start at zero and to be a beginner, to be bad before you can be good, then there's no ending to where you can go and how big you can be and how much you could travel and how many people you can reach. And maybe you decide you want to be a beginner in podcasting. Maybe you decide you want to be a beginner in motivational speaking. Maybe you want to be a beginner in the college market. Maybe you want to be a beginner in something totally different from anything you've done. You now have that precious, precious launch pad to do any of those things. But you have to decide that you're comfortable being uncomfortable, that you're comfortable starting from zero again. And that's the difficult thing.
My question for Cameron is, what brings you enjoyment? You like magic. I've been looking through your website. I think very well done. I've been looking at the photos of your game room, and it's great. It looks clean. It looks nice. It looks well laid out. You put a lot of thought into this. You've got a lot of taste, and I can see why it's a successful business for you, because I think a number of people who try these things don't realize it. You got to appeal to the moms. You got to appeal to that in the families when they go in there, that they feel like this is a nice, clean, wholesome place. That looks like what you've done. I've been looking at your show photos, the dreaded magician. Cameron's got dreads. You look like a fun entertainer, a very, very, with a great opportunity there. I think there are a couple opportunities in front of you. Okay. And maybe both. I would say that you've probably thought about this. Do you want to create another fun room and go over to Bozeman? Do you want to create another fun room somewhere else? And do you want to replicate this and work on that aspect of it and say, okay, as the entrepreneur, you have the opportunity to take what you did here and build another one. It looks like you've got a very good formula because you're getting your pizza from outside, so you don't have to run a kitchen. You figured out you've got a very good sense of play, so you have a very good idea what's entertaining. There are a lot of skilled performers in Montana. I've met a number of them that you could work with. That's an opportunity to think about, like, maybe you create your own sort of franchise, not necessarily franchise, but create your own chain of these businesses and, create them as standalone entities. So one, the success or failure of one or the other doesn't affect the other than being able to reinforce it. I would seriously consider that, because then it could be, hey, do you have to be the one performing, or are you comfortable just building up these really neat fun centers? You're kind of your own Chuck E. Cheese type environment. So that is one thing to consider. Is the entrepreneur path is to take what worked here, because it looks like you've got really good instincts, very, very good instincts on what you did there. And it'd be interesting to see if you decided to replicate that and create a couple more and become, the amusement kingpin of Montana. Another pathway, as Brian was addressing, is, places you could take your magic. One of my favorite stories to talk about is from Bozeman, is Jay Owenhouse, and he's a guy that does probably at any given time is probably the largest magic touring show for a single performer, where he would have motorcycles and tigers and everything else, and he performed all throughout the Midwest. And you go, how is that possible? He's not performing in big amphitheaters. He built a show that could perform in high school gymnasiums. He would bring in the show, his rigging and everything, because every one of these small towns, they didn't have a theater, but they had a gymnasium. So he built an entire illusion show that could fit in there. He had, people who were running phone banks for him to do call ahead in other towns and stuff. They would do benefit for like PBAs, associations, et cetera, like that. So portion of the proceeds would benefit a local charity. So he could go into the town and it was like a traveling circus, but built into a gymnasium. That is another thing for you to think about. Do you want to scale the magic of what you do? I would think about maybe that's what you want to do, is build up a big show like that can tour gymnasiums, and you could work your way throughout the Midwest, because they are starved they don't get Cirque du Soleil. They don't get the bigger forms of entertainment, but if you can entertain a couple hundred people a night, you can build a very lucrative business. So 2 paths. One is pursue building more of these fun rooms, because I think there's a need for that, and it looks like you've got a knack for that. Or as an entertainer, and from what I've seen, it looks like you're a fun and original performer. Perform that, and then look at the idea of, okay, I want to put together evening shows that go into the schools, that would be these school shows that would be benefit whatever. I mean, it's tie in with the local charity and do that.
And by the way, can I just congratulate Cameron that you are already at level 2, where normally our advice is, right? Normally it's, hey, I'm a magician, I've kind of screwed around a little bit, but I want to do something bigger and better. And normally our rambling advice would settle on crazy ideas like, hey, why don't you start a fun room where you can tack your show as an add-on, and you can make persistent money even if you're not there performing. So you're already at like an awesome level. Like, you've already outsmarted life to X degree, right? And I think you're in this kind of refractory period of trying to find out where else you want to grow.
Well, and actually that's a really, really good point, because to me, that's the danger zone. When you have a certain level of success, it's very, very tempting to shift your focus to, well, I've made it, so I guess my new job is to hold this trophy as close to my chest as I can and hope nobody takes it away. And I think I've shared this story before, but, when I quit my day job, I was 24, 25 years old, and I wrote down this outrageous list of goals where it's like, hey, man, I want to tour all around. I want to make a 6-figure income. I want to,
punch out Mike Tyson.
Yeah, exactly. And by the time I was 30, I discovered that list, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm a touring magician. I'm established in the college market. I've won a few awards. It's great. And I guess I won. So I guess I just have to hope nobody takes it away from me. And it was the most depressed I had been in that decade. Like, once you shift to a mindset of scarcity, once you shift to, well, I've won and just nobody take it away. And I don't think I've talked about this on the show, but, I'm kind of bummed. I don't know. Yeah, it's too personal a story. There's somebody very close to me who spends his full time just hoping nobody takes away his nest egg, and that's not a very satisfying way to exist, and it doesn't inspire you to wake up early and work extra hard, and that's where real joy comes from. Real joy doesn't come in spite of the work; it becomes because of the work. And what I would strongly encourage you to do is write down a list of insane goals. Every single one of them you write down has to seem insane at the moment you write it, and
Become
yet close
$1,000
enough.
Patreon of the Weird Things podcast.
Exactly,
you know?
right? And yet, the moment you write it down, go to work and start thinking, well, I mean, is it that insane? Seems like if I got this in 2 or 3 years, I'd be in this position, and then maybe I could do blah, blah, blah. I think you will find a lot of joy in moving forward, or at least the illusion of moving forward, the sensation of moving forward.
And Cameron, you cracked the code, and that is that people who are practical and put in work get things done. It's this amazing mystery of people like, how do you write a book? Brian, how'd you become a college performer? Justin, how do you become a successful podcaster? I don't know. Put in the work.
Yeah,
Be practical. Think about it.
Solve 1,000 tiny puzzles that each one gets you just a little bit closer to the goal.
Yeah,
and they're all, it's like, they're not tough. It's like 2 plus blank equals 5.
3.
3. All right,
so
now solve that a million different times.
Well, and also go through the effort, because each one it's annoying. It's akin to you're speeding, and it's not like you get pulled over for a single $500 ticket. It's like you're speeding towards your goal, and you get pulled over for $8,001 tickets, and each one is slightly annoying. You're like, I guess it was what it means to get close to my goal. All right, and you keep paying those dues, and before you know it, you realize you made it a few hundred miles.
Yeah. So Cameron, I think that in a mention before, there might be a tendency, people might say, "Oh, yeah, what's great? You should franchise that." And there's certainly there's business opportunities in which you can do things like that, take something and franchise it. But then there's the problem is a lot of magicians would love to be able to do what you're doing, and they might pay to learn how to do it, but that becomes its own thing to try to do that. Where if you're looking to really create something cool that belongs to you and of yourself, and not worried about other people ruining what you're trying to do, think about just the idea of opening up another one, and that would require finding somebody in another town capable of doing it. But if you're spending this few hours a week running this, it sounds like you've been pretty good at figuring out who to run these things right now. That is an option for you there. I really think that could be interesting and neat to see that you're doing that.
And keep in mind, I assume all of this is assuming that this is what brings you joy, is running this stuff. It may be that
I think that's what Andrew said before, was that, like, what makes you happy? The entrepreneur? If it's the entrepreneur, then look, you got a great business. Let's see how you can grow that business, right? If it's the performer, then figure out what the performer thing. That's, Brian, what you were saying is your point was, okay, let's assume that what brings you joy is the performance. Then understand that it doesn't even have to be magic, that you can do a million other different things, because number one, you were smart enough to start your own business. Number two, you have a great look and you're professional and you put the work in. Like, there's no reason why you can't go anywhere that involves somebody confidently talking to an audience.
So let me propose, and you guys can, I'd be curious to hear if you guys agree or disagree. I think there's only 3 health bars when it comes to being a magician. There's only 3 reasons people are a magician, and you want all 3 of these. You do it for money, you do it for fame, and you do it for relationships. to meet somebody. Those are the only things you care about. And as long as
Strongly disagree.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Why do people become magicians?
I think some people absolutely passionately love the art of magic. I think they love, like, why does somebody become a dancer? Why does somebody do something that doesn't have those rewards? Because they feel very passionate about the thing itself. I know actors that maybe it'd be nice if they became famous, but if you said, hey, we're going to go put on a play in the middle of nowhere for 3 people, do you want to go do it? They would love to go do it because they love the experience of the thing.
That's interesting, because yes, I agree that I certainly got excited about all those, but it was in service of moving forward on those other 3 goals. Like, I wanted to reach more people.
Did you go to Magic Live?
No.
I didn't go to Magic Live. Okay.
Okay.
Magic Live's big magic convention. there are a lot of people there who were stayed up all night in
Yes.
hotel rooms.
And by the way, you guys both should have been at Magic Live because they apparently organized everybody who's been on the cover of Magic Magazine.
So
and you two have both been on the cover of Magic Magazine.
Whoops.
So there were people there that's what they're absolutely passionate about. That's the thing, that they went 3 days with 4 days, no sleep, because I have friends that they just love.
Sure.
And performing is sort of a sideline for them.
Okay,
they love the experience of the new trick and figuring these things out, and just anyhow.
Sure. No. Well, allow me to dial back my pronouncement, because you are correct. Magic is a curious business, and that people do it for different reasons. When I'm saying about like full-time professionals, people who want to make this their living, I think are fueled partly by the ego boost that comes from successfully entertaining and pulling off a good con and entertaining the masses. That's the ego side of thing. I think the money side is certainly not insubstantial, because that's what allows them to keep the lights on and keep on doing it. And outside of that, the relationships that come from it. I guess, I don't know. Even as I'm saying it, it's kind of breaking down. But I don't know.
I think that for you, you diagnosed you and me pretty well, and that we love Magic, but we also love the opportunities that are brought with it and the different things we can do.
Right.
Like I'm saying, you and I weren't there because, like, yeah, we like it, but hey, 5 a.m., let's learn a new tilt shift. Like, oh, I got a good one. I'm good. I'm covered, guys.
Right.
Well, I mean, listen, I think as far as Cameron goes, I would love for him to email back and just say, but which direction he wants to go, because I think that there's a lot that can be learned from him just saying, like, gun to your head, what would you do tomorrow if it were the last day on Earth? Would you be an entrepreneur? Would you be a performer? If you only had those choices, that's a very weird scenario.
Sure.
But
well,
let's say that's what it was, because I think that does so much for him to understand. And the other thing is just to enjoy, like, what Brian was saying. This is a time to be enjoyed. This is the fun part. This is the Willy Wonka element of that people who are especially self-made people, independent business people. This is the great moment where you get to say, there's anything I can do. I met a dude at Gen Con who has had great success licensing and creating board games with licensed property, right? And so he's been great about talking to licensees and getting IP. And so one day he had this dream at like a Best Western or something for a Mega Man board game. And he was just describing to me in glee how excited he was that he had this dream. He woke up and wrote down all the rules. And within 2 years, he talked to everybody, talked to Capcom, and it was on sale. But like he gets enjoyment out of the production and the selling and the talking to distributors and the money. Like, he likes that. But the real the awesome part, the fillet of that enjoyment was the idea that he could just have something in his head and then he could make it happen. Cameron's already done that twice. He's become a magician, and he has come up with a business that helps him push that forward.
A Zelda-themed bathroom, by the way.
What?
The Zelda-themed bathroom.
Nice.
Oh, dude. Listen, man, you're living the dream. So it's like, if you want to know, hey, if you're bored of watching Netflix, like, check out what is playing now in the Netflix of your future. Like, scroll through that and find out what you want to do. Because I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of people that you talk to in your life, and they want to share ideas or share experiences, and you can kind of know almost immediately, well, just by the questions that are being asked, you're not serious.
So
Cameron is dead serious. You can tell it by the way he's writing it. You can tell it by what he's doing. What he just needs is a kick in the ass. To clarify my advice, I guess I'm going to make this more personal to make it more clear. I quit my day job in May of 1999. By 2004, I was touring 100 dates on the road.
and I decided it was time to begin a new game. So I wrote a skeptical lecture, and the first few episodes, the first few performances were absolutely terrible. Took a long time for me to get my voice and figure it out. But within 2 or 3 years, I was doing 20 or 30 skeptical lectures. Around that time, I had a failed pilot, and I decided, I have to get good at being in front of the camera. So I started up this series, Brian Brushwood on the Road. It was genuinely terrible. Nobody watched them. It was only 20, we did 23 vignettes, but I learned how to talk and get better. And out of that, Scam School developed. And then once Scam School developed, I knew I wanted to get good at speaking extemporaneously on a microphone. So we started doing a BB Live show with Justin. And of course, I think it's fair to say, Justin, that those initial episodes, not great, not as polished as we've become on Night Attack.
Pretty safe. Yeah.
So
pretty safe.
The theme is that it became important to me to begin a new journey and realize that each journey was going to begin with being bad all over again and learning to be good. And I'd say that even goes as far as like the TV projects. I think that now if I had Hacking the System to start all over again, it would be much better. And in fact, it already is. It's called The Modern Rogue, and it's better than Hacking the System, and it's online right now. But that only happened because I had to learn a lot of storytelling elements, being out in Los Angeles and so on. So it as long as you're comfortable learning from scratch again, I think that the world is your oyster. I think that you'll always have something new, bigger, and exciting. And if you don't mind the idea that you could spend 5 years getting good at something that ultimately may be dropped at the end of it, as long as you're comfortable with that, you get unlimited coupons, you get unlimited restarts, and you get unlimited development for the rest of your life.
Wonderful advice. My vote, Cameron, is you become the party and entertainment and amusement impresario of Montana, and then spread across.
Like a virus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, listen, if you want to talk about natural advantages, putting together, a fun room in Billings and Bozeman is going to be cheaper than a lot of other cities, and they still got kids, and they still get bored, and they still have birthdays. So you are in a great place to do that. But no, email back, man. I'm excited to hear where you go.
In a side jag that we could probably talk about more on another episode is that there has been this big growth. In LA, like you can't walk down the street without tripping into an escape room. That it's become bigger because people want to get out of their houses and do something. They want to get outside of their houses and do something besides just going to a movie theater or going to a restaurant.
Right.
And shopping. And so the more stuff you come up with that can fit that in, and what works with escape rooms is it doesn't cost $50,000 to build an escape room. You need an empty storefront, bunch of old crap, and some imagination. You can do that. And some of them are barely more than that. And what Cameron did here was he said, hey, I can rent a space. I don't have to have it staffed all day. I only staff it or run it myself when we have a party book there. Otherwise, it's dormant. I'm not building an arcade that's going to have to pay for somebody to be there all day. I can get space that's inexpensive enough, because where my business is going to come through, it's not going to be walk through. It's going to come from, people finding me online and word of mouth. Brilliant. I worked when I was a teenager at some of these places like this, but they were much more expensive locations and stuff. They were counting on different things. I think, Cameron, you've got a great business model for what you're doing. I think you could expand that.
Heck yes.
Gentlemen,
Absolutely.
Any picks, any suggestions?
I'm reading this new audio book. It's called Powerhouse. I'll probably make it my pick on weird things too. But I love oral histories. I like the format in which the author really only is there to write little vignettes in between gigantic blocks of quotes. And one of the guys who does it better than anybody is James Andrew Miller. He did These Guys Have All the Fun, the story of ESPN, Live from New York, the story of Saturday Night Live. And his newest book, which I'm listening to right now, is Powerhouse, the story of creative artists agency, which just is a through line to so many amazing, awesome things that have happened in Hollywood over the past 30 years, so much of which I didn't even necessarily put together, but I'm right now in the midst of what became the Young Turks writers boom with Joe Esterhaus and Shane Black. And did you know, also, fun little trivia, that the original version of the script for Lethal Weapon was entitled The Nice Guys?
No kidding.
Yeah, which was Shane Black's movie that just came out this year. So I guess you finally got around to recycling that name. But yeah, no, totally great. Awesome story. Just real quick to wet your whistle. There is a great story about Peter Sellers and how crazy he was. I mean, in general, but specifically on the set of the Pink Panther. And so Peter Sellers, goes crazy and gets into a fight with a producer. Fires makes the call to his agent. I'm not going to show up to set if this producer shows back up. So they fire the producer. Producer comes back to LA. So Peter Sellers goes to the first day of shooting, hates the director. So he calls his agent back and says, "Why was I mad at the producer? This director's garbage. I'm not going back to set unless the producer's back on set in Paris tomorrow."
What?
So the agent goes to his assistant and says, "Hey, you got to find that producer and you got to get him back on a flight to Paris tomorrow. So he's on set tomorrow or you're fired." So the guy tracks down the producer. He's at a restaurant, calls him and says, "Hey, listen, you got to drive to LAX right now because the last flight out is at 7. Producer's like, "It's 7:45 or 6:45 right now. I'm never going to make it to LAX. I'm just going to get there tomorrow morning." He's like, "No, you're going to get there. Leave right now. Don't worry. You're going to get on that flight. You already have a ticket." He's like, "Whatever." So the assistant goes to the basement, calls in to Air France a bomb threat on that flight.
What?
And the producer winds up getting to Paris on time.
That is amazing.
Just awesome, legendary stories. So I love it. The audiobook format for oral histories is not my favorite in the world. I kind of wish they would splurge for a little bit more of a cast because it's always just one male voice and one female voice. But super great. Can't recommend it highly enough.
Cool. I got a recommendation that's totally self-serving, but I think is good, especially if you're somebody like it was Cameron who wrote us. Is that who it was?
Mm-hmm.
If you're somebody like Cameron, you want a bit of advice. If you think that I occasionally, as a broken clock, am right twice a day, then you can get 3 hours of me running my stupid mouth off with a Penguin Magic live lecture that I did a few weeks ago. Just dropped this past week. If you go to penguinmagic.com, it's the craziest thing. I ended up just sort of explaining my entire stage show. Even if you're somebody who has a passing interest in magic and you want to know the thinking, some of the stuff I detail in precise nature of how everything is done. Other stuff I talk about the general theses that I'm working with. I've never done a magic lecture before, and I'm rather proud of it. I think it's pretty good. It's available right now. I think it's still it's $29.95, and it's 3 hours long. And if you are into that stuff, then I think you'll dig it.
I highly recommend. I think they've done a great job in putting these things together. To have, if you're into magic and you're performing, to have Brian explain the inside stuff. There's so much stuff that there's just not the opportunity to go into in podcasts or any of the other things that he's done. This is really a great opportunity to have Brian explain the real insight into one effect is super, super, super worth it. To have Brian explain multiple stuff is fantastic. So you get so much more out of it. You get so much more out of these things than you think initially, because it's just, as a performer, somebody can tell you one little insight, one little thing that can just change radically your entire show. So
people have said really nice things. The reviews have been very, very positive. A lot of 4 and 5 star reviews. So I'm very flattered and excited to get more feedback from you guys.
Brian, I give you 1,000,000 stars.
Oh my God, that's so many stars.
The whole galaxy.
For my pick, I'll play a little here for you.
You can't do Stranger Things again.
I can't do Stranger Things again?
No, he's going to do the soundtrack.
Darn tootin'. Stranger Things soundtrack has dropped.
Called it.
Soundtrack
It's really good, man.
by
That
Kyle
shows-
Dixon. It's great.
Stood up to a second viewing when we were out on vacation out in San Diego. The reason I couldn't join you guys last week, we rewatched the whole thing with Bonnie. It was a lot of fun.
Wait, the kids?
Oh,
Or-
no, me and Bonnie.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Little
I-
bit
so
extreme for the
soundtrack's
kids.
out. The last time I was that impressed with the soundtrack was the It Follows soundtrack, which was funny enough was that the game Reigns, which was one of my picks, was by Disaster. The soundtrack was by Disaster Piece, who also did the soundtrack for It Follows. So, small world. It's very cool.
Dude. Yeah, no. Been very, very. I think Stranger Things has gotten all the hype that it deserves. It was really exceptional.
Gentlemen, it's been after.
Hell yeah, it has. Isn't that right, birds? The birds are trying to get in on that Cameron Mesmer bit. They were really excited by it. You should start another arcade.
All right.
All right, gang.
Hey, great shows.
Yeah, good jarbs.
You did a good job.
I will see y'all tomorrow.
Yeah. We're gonna jury's gonna be tomorrow, right?
Jury's tomorrow. Jury will be in the morning after TMS.
Very cool. All right, guys. Let's hit them with some reaction.
Love you guys.
Peace.